think that my being was driven on winning in some sort of way. If you weren't at a certain level, there was no worth. I just translated that to a workaholic career, where I just drove and drove and drove. Lived my life about providing financially, providing from all the ways that you're supposed to provide as a man or a husband or a father, but none of that translated to the emotional providing that Sherry needed or my kids needed in general, right? My wife wouldn't care if we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment and, had nothing as long as we were together. It's not a badge to be a workaholic. It's actually a really sad thing. As my career and life, in whatever ways you would say were successful, there wasn't a satisfaction that you're there. There was just the drive to go grind tomorrow, frankly, and really, in the most success I've had through my life, getting to those pinnacles they've never filled the hole that God's supposed to fill. It's just a hole, because you just keep going after it and after it, after it. And you don't have a choice, because you're just internally like a just clock driven to tick that way. And it's exhausting. God and I had a really cool agreement, right? Like, I knew He was there, I believed in Him, right? And we were good. Do the things, read your Bible, lead your kids, lead your wife, pray with them, do those things. I don't want to make it seem like it was so superficial. It was pretty good. The difference is, people would talk to me about, I felt the emotional love of God today. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like we have this thing and we do this stuff, but I don't feel the emotional love of God. That's not a thing. So I continued to live my life under that agreement. Me doing my thing, Him doing His, but that was really it. So COVID hits in March 2020, right? As 2021 happened, things started to loosen. And then in July of 2021, my wife Sherry gets COVID. And I'm like, okay. And I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't feel that good. I've been around her, I need to get a test. And that test came back positive on Wednesday. And Friday or Saturday, I feel terrible. I'm somewhere in the 70s, pulse ox. A little bit more time goes by, Sherry checks me again, I'm in the 50s. The way I feel and that number, I've got to go to the hospital. So we get everything together, we go to the hospital, and they hook me up to all the stuff, and I'm at 38. And the nurses and the people say, we don't know how you're even awake. And the doctor was very annoyed with me. He and all the nurses and everybody were very frustrated that I wasn't intubated yet, because I was gonna power through. So I fought that. But after praying with my family, friends, pastors, I let Him hook me up. And things go black. I spend the next 28 days intubated and trached, and so I was basically in an induced coma through this period of time.
He just kept getting infections, and they kept trying antibiotics, and they couldn't figure it out. They had to shock his heart a couple times. It was like roadblock after roadblock, and then boom, lung collapses.
My lungs got eaten away by COVID, intubation, fevers, infections, pneumonias, you name it, just like one after the other, back to back, ate that away to get me down to a 10% lung capacity.
They were like, we just don't know. We can't tell you any answers if he's gonna make it.
People that, when I wasn't awake, thought I was gonna die. My kids had to come in and get their head around the fact that Dad might not come home. I had people flying in, do you wanna see James again? You better come now, because it's gonna be over soon. When you think your life's gonna end and everything that you've done to this point is worthless, basically, that's pretty tragic. Despite being that close to dying, I still wasn't ready to give it up all to God. I was gonna fight and fight and fight, and I was gonna make it out. And I kept getting disappointed by my physical ability to do that. All my muscles had atrophied. And so God said, you can't do anything for yourself anymore. You're gonna have to let me do everything. This was the moment that I had to make a choice about whether I would let him have me or not. I finally was able to say to him in our time together, you can have me. I finally let it go.
And started trusting him.
He just showed up at every specific time he was supposed to, and I just got to be on my back to watch it versus like going after stuff and missing all that. You know, it had to slow me down in that kind of way to where I could lay on my back and learn some stuff from God and hang out with him and let him blow me away with his love. Because like I said before, you know, an agreement and hanging out together is not feeling emotional love. But when you spend that much time seeing somebody carry you, you realize that you're loved. And as he showed his love healing me spiritually, he also started to heal me physically in miraculous ways. I got better and better and better. People said that I may not walk again without a cane, maybe ever, always be on oxygen for the rest of your life. On November 12th, I got to walk out of that place. Today, as I continue to heal, 70% lung capacity. Was at 10, definitely needed a lung transplant.
Double lung transplant when he came home.
God's been closing holes in my lungs for months and months and months, and I'm about 70% now. He's continuing to heal me.
And the doctors are like, many times we've heard, we just don't understand. Like that doesn't even make any sense. Like, we don't understand how this is happening. And we're like, oh, we do.
The fact that he showed up and won the battles for me, you talk about being undefeated, like it's allowing him to fight the battle. I could just lay in bed, right? And I could fight mentally and I could go along with him and I could do different things, but I had to let him do it. It was a good thing because I got to be with him, and I didn't realize how important that was before. I'm finding that there is a chance for me not to live life in this exhausted, power-driven state. And all the things that you try to drive for from a success standpoint, maybe success looks a little different. It's about our relationship, our marriage, our family, you know, has this different chance than we ever would have had I not gotten sick. Life will bring you moments that you didn't plan, but you gotta lean in and just trust God through those moments.
Just trusting him, like fully trusting him and knowing that he's got your best no matter what.
God's plans are always gonna be greater than our own plans. We have to trust and let him do his work.